and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Allen.
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Gollenbach's excuse. Grover.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion. Do you have something on the agenda you want to change?
Yes.
Okay.
On the agenda, we have, under new business, the Independence Aquatic Center. Bob is making a presentation out of town, so he will not be here. We'll pull that from the agenda.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the amended agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Denny, second by Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Nobody signed in for public comment back there? Okay. Not even one of the employees or anything, huh?
No.
Okay, we'll skip that part then. Next then, I need a motion to accept and approve the consent agenda that approves the following. Minutes of the January 25th, 2016 regular meeting, Quick Star number 717, Class C beer permit and Sunday sales liquor license for April 1, 2016 through March 31st, 2017, and financial statements for the month of January 2016. Do I hear
Make a motion.
Motion by Grover.
Second.
Second by Brown. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next is approval of the claims.
So moved.
Motion by Holland, second by Denny Vaughn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Resolutions. We're getting down here fast. You guys are going fast. I need a motion to approve a resolution appointing Lance Fricky as a member to the Independence Light and Power Board of Trustees.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Lenius.
Second.
Second by Holland. Any discussion? A roll call, please.
Lenius.
Yes.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Gollenbach's excuse. Grover.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Holland.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. Next, I need a motion to approve a resolution reappointing Gerald Stelter as a member to the Independence Light and Power Board of Trustees. Motion by Vaughn.
Second.
Second by Lenius. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Vaughn.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Gollenbach's excuse. Grover.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Holland.
Yes.
Lenius.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried.
What? Going to sleep.
Next, under new business, is the energy conservation policy.
This is a policy that we presented last fall for your consideration in a work session. It ties back to our energy management team. In short, what this does is suggest policies, procedures that we'll follow when looking at building remodeling or new construction. It states that we will look for energy-saving opportunities anytime that we do any kind of remodeling or construction on city facilities.
Okay.
So moved.
Motion by Hill.
Second.
Second by Holland. Any discussion? This doesn't need a roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion is carried. Next on the agenda under new business is budget discussion. Something to share?
I just wanted to briefly update you. Gina spent a big chunk of last week working on this. We're not all the way home yet, but we are within 39 cents of our target levy, which is very positive. We have a ways to go, and we'll work on it some more this week. We will be bringing it back on the 22nd for formal consideration. But at this time, like I said, we're just over 39 cents away from what our goal is of $1539,769.
Is there a dollar figure attached to that 39 cents?
$82,150.
Okay.
Next week in our work session, are we going to talk about the budget again? Do we have a chance to go over some line item things next week, or when will we do that? Or when can we do that?
Well, next week, Monday is President's Day. It is a recognized holiday by the city. I don't know if you still want to have the meeting or move it to Wednesday or skip it for the month of February. We will go through the budget on
We
the
better do it.
22nd. We'll be sending it out as soon as we get more of this worked through. Again, we're still shooting for the target of 1539.
Now, we have a work session on the 17th
Yeah, I had
already.
one before then.
We moved that Friday one to
We haven't
Wednesday.
got that problem straightened out yet.
Because you raised your concern because you're not able
Let's
to
not
be
wait
there.
till the
Yeah,
last minute.
for what, the workshop or
Yeah.
what?
Do it.
Yeah.
Can we do it now?
Yeah, I
Sure,
will not be
ask
there
him.
because I
Right.
have to work.
Can we talk about line items now? Or should we not?
It's a budget discussion. It's here for discussion, absolutely.
What Denny's brought up, the one item that's the meter or whatever for the water towers, or for monitoring the water flow.
Yes,
It's, I think, 250,000.
that's the estimate.
Well, I guess I would like to know, I think Denny would too, we talked about the urgency of doing that this year. Is there a real need to do it this year, or can we put that off? What benefit do we have from it that's real necessary?
The issue that you have with it, first of all, it has nothing to do, it will not affect your levy at all.
Right.
It has zero impact on the city levy. Secondly, the reason that it's in there is at some point in time, if you don't monitor, if you don't know how much water is in your water tower, you have a lot of trouble controlling the pressure, the water pressure. The goal of this is not just how much water is in there, but is there a way for us to control the volume of water in the three towers to better provide water pressure to different parts of town? Currently, we have sections of town that have no issue with water pressure and others that are struggling tremendously with water pressure. We don't have any way of gauging that or understanding what's going on in there.
How come it doesn't affect the levy?
Because it is all coming out of the water fund. The water is coming out, anything on the capital improvement program for water is coming out of the water fund. Anything affecting sewer or sewer collection is coming out of the sewer fund. Those are enterprise funds. They generate their own revenue, so all of their repairs are coming from the revenues that they generate, which is what it's set up to do. It's set up to fund as a standalone enterprise within the city.
It just seems like a atrocious amount of money for an item that we've been getting along with since, well, 1776 is when they started the country. We didn't have one then. We haven't had one in
Which is part of the
between.
reason why we have a problem with water pressure in parts
Where
of
do we
town
have,
and
where
not other.
do we have that problem at?
Maybe we should ask the citizens to
Southwest
give
and
them your
northeast.
number.
North, would that be Terrace Drive?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Why would you say Terrace Drive, Denny?
Because I was told that's where the problem was.
I
No.
think it's,
By who?
isn't it out by the,
Southwest
isn't
and
it
the
out by the
northeast.
school?
Yeah.
It's out north of where you are, where you
We
live.
talked about the northeast part of town has struggled with water pressure. We've also talked about everything from Heartland Acres to the whole business park out there, and the southwest part of town struggles tremendously with water pressure. Part of our goal is to find a way to address the whole community and have a system that we have some kind of control over. The water system being one of our biggest challenges right now.
We're 100% sure this is going to cure the problem.
I'm not 100% sure of anything with the water system, Denny, but I don't think anybody else in town is right now either.
And just because we haven't done it doesn't mean was right not to do it even a long time ago. But every year we let this go by makes things worse.
Well, it just seems like we're in kind of a financial pinch today. And
Well, Denny,
we're trying to put things off, huh?
our water valves are much newer than the water towers. Maybe we should leave them for another 50 years. I mean,
No,
it doesn't
I
make
don't-
sense
I don't
because
think-
they've been around for a long time, Denny. The system, if there's new technology available to us that can improve the quality of our system, why would we not look at it?
Maybe the cost.
Okay?
I was the one that actually brought it up at the work session a week ago, if you remember correctly. And my question there was, and it was answered the same way then as it is now, but my question is, can just two of them be monitored? Do we have to do all three? And that would be my question now, and I don't know if that's possible or not, but we did discuss this at the work session, if you remember correctly.
And the challenge that we have, the number that's in there, it's a shot in the dark. It's an engineer's estimate at what it would take. We haven't started the process of looking at what would it take to put the whole thing in there. But I'm not going to tell you it's a $10,000 challenge and come back and surprise you with a $200,000 bill. We're going to put an estimate in there that's realistic for what we think it could cost. But we haven't done any real work on putting that plan together. It's in the next fiscal year.
So we do have the opportunity to discuss this and decide whether or not to do it
Absolutely.
at a future date.
Absolutely. The capital improvement plan says these are the things that we're going to work on in the year. We haven't approved a contract. We haven't approved a system. We're just saying, here's something that we have to work on in
And whether it's
fiscal
listed
17.
there or taken out of there, it's not gonna affect the 39 cents.
I got you. Okay.
So if it comes back at 500,000, we can say too much.
Absolutely.
Well, if it comes back at 250, we can say too much, if we decide it's too much.
If you decide that you don't want to do it at 250, if you decide you don't want to do it at 75, you have that decision in front of you. I'm just putting it in the capital improvement plan so that it's something that we can work on in the system.
Okay, I got you.
Anything else? And we took C off of the agenda, so we are down to reports. Randy, do you have anything you would like to have for tonight?
Probably the only thing covered, but it's already on it's on the reports under section.
Oh, you're gonna help me with D? Okay, thank you. I'll save you for later then. I don't think there's any other department heads here, is there? Did I see hiding? Okay. Austin, do you have anything tonight?
I really don't want to go back to work, but that's about it.
You want us to stretch this out a little longer so you don't have to? Let's hope your boss isn't watching.
Just so you don't show up 2 hours later.
Yeah. Don, did you have anything?
I got a question, but I'll wait till D.
Oh, it's on that? You want to jump to D? You want me to do
No,
that
no,
first?
just finish
Okay,
those comments.
okay. Carter, did you have anything tonight?
Actually, I got a lot of stuff tonight. And so I'll start off. First of all, there was a request for an opinion on the letter from Bolton and Mink on the airport FBO residence issue. And I spent the better part of the day yesterday researching that question. And I came up with a conclusion. I emailed the summary, which I think some of you have seen, the summary of my conclusion. But the actual opinion is probably going to be about 8-10 pages long. It took me quite a while to go through the whole thing. It was a lot more complicated issue than I thought it would be. And one of the concerns, I'd like to maybe address it as an agenda item next meeting. I think it's something we should talk about openly. I don't think it's a closed session type thing. But by then you'll have my opinion letter out, and I have some ideas and perhaps how to address what my opinion is. But I think we should talk about it then, when you get it and you can digest it and see what I think and how I interpret Bolton and Mink's letter to us as it relates to the residence issue at the airport. So that's the first thing that'll be coming down the line. The second thing that has come up, and I think maybe we should also address this as an agenda item next meeting, is what I'd propose, is how you really want to use me. Historically, probably since the first time I've started coming here, I've been rather casual about giving opinions to the mayor, the city administrator, manager, and council members individually. Technically, the code says that I'm to give opinions to the questions by the mayor of law, the council as a whole, or the city manager. Generally, I also will respond to department heads, but our specific code of ordinances does not say that. Most of my cities, it'll say that I also am responsible to report to, or respond to department heads if they have questions. Here, under section 20.04, it's a little different than most of my other cities in that it's the mayor, council as a whole, and city manager. And the reason I raise that issue is I think over the years I've probably, maybe not Don and some of the newer guys, but the older guys, I think I've responded to all of you, including Bonnie when you were on the council, to individual questions, and I've not run it through the city manager. Usually when I have an opinion, then I will then direct it to the city manager so it's archived. But technically it says city council as a whole, and I would like some direction as how you want me to interpret that. Do you want me to continue to be casual and just answer you?
What is your interpretation of that?
Well, the way I read that is that technically I'm supposed to wait till you as a council all caucus and say, I guess you want my opinion on something.
Minimum majority vote.
Right. That's what,
Instructing the city manager.
that's the way it looks to me. And is that what you want me to do? Because that's technically what I think it says.
And sitting here speaking of this particular thing, I was guilty in my first term early on in my first term, of contacting you with respect to certain things, and that was straightened out. At least I thought it was straightened out. And I've never done it since. And that is the fact that we, as a whole, that's what I understood it, the council as a whole, which means that we have some subject that we're looking at, and the majority of us feel it's appropriate for a legal opinion, then we instruct the city manager to ask that question. We don't have the authority individually to make debt to the city, and that's exactly what happens when we pick the phone up individually and call you and ask you to do something.
And I think you're right about that. And that's where this city is a little different than my other cities. Many of my other cities allow specifically to me to address council people with a question, or a department head. So there's some pitfalls with that, in that sometimes you have questions which really shouldn't be public questions. Sometimes they're questions that should not be public. And under this scenario, you can never have a question that doesn't become public. I need some direction on that. And the reason that is raised is Al sent me a good question tonight about a question that Denny had for me that I was going to go ahead and start to investigate. And then I thought, well, I better read the code, because Al raised a good point. Well, he was basically saying, why are you doing that? And I thought, well, because Denny asked me. And then I thought, well, I better make sure that Denny can ask me. And I guess Denny technically can't ask me. But I see some real downsides with that.
I do too.
I'll just have to go directly to the FAA then, right?
And that's what I worry about. I mean, there's some things, sometimes you probably do want to have, I'm just saying, let's talk about it next month, because it's not an agenda item, or next meeting, it's not an agenda item tonight, but I'm worried about, not worried about it, I'll do what you want me to do, but in the future, let's talk about it. If you want me to interpret that ordinance strictly, that's what I'm going to have to do, is that you as a whole are going to have to ask me
Well, as a
those
minimum,
questions.
there's no reason why we can't pick up the phone and have a session with Al and discuss this particular thing, and he may deem it worthy at that moment to take hold of it and run with it.
That's true.
We don't have to have the majority. If he's objecting to a thought process that the council is having, and 4 of us, 5 of us, 6 of us, 7 of us, or whatever, decide we need to override that, we want an answer to this particular situation, and then we would vote on it. We would simply throw it out there and have a vote on it.
Or squash the problem, John.
Well,
No, it's not squashing the problem.
Yeah, it
Eddie.
is, yeah, it
The
is.
question that I have, and I appreciate that, but in my mind, there's a big difference between a council person calling for an opinion, guidance, or a council person calling for an investigation. And if we're going to investigate something, that has a much heavier connotation than,
Yes, it does.
hey, I want an opinion.
Well, I
And
agree
so
with
maybe
you,
it's
but the
same.
fact remains that when we talk to him, when I pick up the phone and call him, technically, he can bill the city.
Right.
Yeah,
Technically,
And you do.
I've established
Yeah,
a
yeah.
And you
contract
do,
between
right?
me.
Yeah, and sometimes
And according to Iowa League of Cities and everything else, and their city council members are not entitled they're not entitled to establish any contract or buy anything. We can't do that in the name of the city of Independence. We can
Well-
do it as a quota, as a quorum.
I disagree with that, John, and I come from a time frame when it was so tight-shipped here
I don't
that,
disagree with you, Bob. You're right.
that, you know, that we were not allowed to talk to anybody. I can tell you a time when I was taken to the woodshed for talking to the sheriff on why we weren't included in the jail project, when we were.
Yeah.
I don't want to get back to that situation.
No,
Now,
no.
I think if you call up, Carter can diffuse a lot of things if you call up and you talk for 5 minutes. You know, we can save all kinds of public humiliation, public problems by that. Now, I also agree that when it comes to being more than 5 or 10-minute phone call, then that is out of line, and that's when we need to have the council to say, okay, we want you to spend 2 days or 3 days doing that, because then we're talking some pretty substantial bucks.
And I don't have a problem with having conversation with respect to this, but we are not, as individual council members, entitled to establish a debt to the city, for the city. We
So
can't
how do
do
these
that.
other cities do it?
The thing
The other
is,
cities are?
what you're talking about and what used to be is no longer
Oh,
true.
it can easily become
No,
that.
it-
No,
But
and I agree.
it-
has
You know what I was-
anybody
let me-
tried-
Let me finish with what I was gonna say, Madam Mayor, and that
Okay.
was the fact that I agree with Bob. But what I'm, in this particular sense, I'm agreeing with the fact that there needs to be some discussion with respect to how we apply this. We know, Carter has given us what the code says. The code says we can't, an individual council member cannot do that. It has to be a group, it has to be a majority, 4, 5 or 6, 7, whatever the vote has to be in order to make sure. And then we ask the city manager to contact Carter and do that. I would like to have a discussion on that. I don't want to close anybody out, but I also don't want to usurp management. I also don't want, I want to be sure that management knows that we're doing something along these lines, not something under the table or clandestine or whatever the situation is, that he is aware so that so he doesn't get a message or an email or whatever, or a phone call asking about a particular subject he has absolutely no knowledge of. That's
Carter-
not fair to him.
Carter, did anybody just call up and ask you how the weather was doing and charge that to the city?
It has nothing to do with the weather.
Right, it was something,
Right.
every phone call you received from a private individual council person had something to do with city business, correct or incorrect?
Always, always. And I've always taken the tact that my duty was to respond to that council person or the mayor or the city manager. And I'm guilty of not ever specifically reading this code section.
So it looks to me like any reason to do any business any different is to squash the problem, you know?
Well, I have an idea that I'd like you to think about for the next meeting as a process. And I think John actually has helped me work through it in my mind when in his discussion. If it's a council issue that if it's an issue that the city manager or the mayor won't take to me with a question, then that rises to the level of the 4 of you having to have it put on the agenda to ask me that question. Alternatively, if it's an individual council person who has that question, you can go to the city manager or the mayor and ask them to ask me to investigate it. And so I guess the way there may be a protection for minority questions or minority interests is that if you think it's something that the mayor doesn't want to look into, you can go to the city manager. If you think it's something the city manager doesn't want to look into, you can go to the mayor.
What if
and
it's
get
both
that.
of them?
Then you got a problem.
Right,
Then
that's what I'm saying, we got a problem.
But if you
then-
haven't
Then you
approached
just
either
convince 3 other
one,
buddies of yours on the council and make a vote.
right. And that's
I
the
could count
other
better than
solution.
that, John.
But
Don't
we
count
have-
3 out.
I don't think any individual should have the right to call him to get a
Why?
grudge.
Why not?
Wait,
If you see something seriously wrong, you don't
I
think it
can't
should
go
be
out-
reported?
I can't
Okay,
go
do
out
I
and buy
have
a
to
new
put the
truck
pa-
for the city, and this lawyer fee could end up costing more than a truck, Denny. We've had lawyer fees. You've been involved in most of them. And you created them, and I think it's time
I
that we work
created 'em?
together. You were behind almost all of them. I was
Which
on
one
the-
are you talking about?
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
talking about the one
okay.
your name is
Excuse me.
mentioned
Okay,
in the court
let's-
case. But I'm just saying that I don't think we should have the right to go there and call somebody because I don't like something that's going on. I think we can, if I want to talk to the sheriff or Police chief, I'll
I want
visit
to
with
talk to you after. I want to know what case you're talking about.
Well, I'll show you the in writing if you want to see it.
Okay, let's stop there. This is part of the report section of our agenda. This is not an agenda item. Again, we already
was Al
know
started
what the
this.
code is.
Right.
Suggestion to put it on the agenda
Right, that's,
another time.
that's what the issue is, and let's talk about it in 2 weeks. And let's figure out a way
Yes.
that we can make sure we don't go back to what we didn't like. That-
Right.
That I think all of us agree we didn't like that.
Right,
And let's figure out a way to get it,
a
make it
happy
work.
medium somewhere.
Because I don't want to be, my job is to follow the code, frankly, and I haven't been for 7 years, apparently. And I want to make sure I follow it correctly, but I also want to make sure I answer your questions so our city gets all its legal issues addressed. So that's why I raise it. I think that's it. Sorry it took so long, but I didn't mean to start a fight here, but.
Next meeting, I'm skipping over you.
Yeah, just skip me. So usually for the last couple of months, I haven't said anything. Now I've.
You're making up for lost time. Is that the
Exactly.
deal?
All
Okay.
right.
All you got to talk about, you said you had several items.
Yeah, I think I used up my time.
I said, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. If I did, I forgot what it was.
Okay. Thank you. John,
Nothing.
over to you. Mike,
Yeah, I actually have quite a bit.
reports, not
For the-
comments and everything else, reports. For your council meeting or your
So
committee meeting?
do we
or-
wait until when to make our comments? Right now?
Well, we're in the reports section.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me know when we can do comments. We had a Government Performance and Finance Committee meeting today. Everybody will get the notes next week, but it was basically, we talked about philosophically some changes that could occur within the department head ranks sometime in the future. Those who could be affected were here. It's not anything to panic about. Al will bring something to the next council meeting. We also talked about housing incentives and the use of TIF for these. So again, we'll get that into a report and bring it to everybody. Well, I guess I'll save the other couple for my comments section.
Well, if that's part of your committee report, what do you have as a council member
Okay.
report?
I just wanted to let everybody know that Doug Cook and I met with actually Laura Priest and Ross Evelsizer from Postville were here, as well as Ebing Sue and 3 other people. She's the project manager from University of Iowa. They came here to talk really about our stormwater management system. We went over some mapping with them, and then Doug and I took them around to a half a dozen places around town that are problem areas, down by the park, up in the northeast side, down by Lover's Lane. There was about 6 places, but they really did a lot of things that will probably help us from a watershed standpoint. And I've sent a thank you to them, but and also we'll discuss it at the next watershed meeting in March. But they were excited to be here, and I think they will have a lot of good ideas for us.
Because that's the watershed, Wapsie River Watershed
Wapsie,
Committee that
yeah.
you're representing us
Yeah.
on? Okay.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
but Laura is a tremendous asset on that. And actually, if it wasn't for her, the thing probably wouldn't move.
Right.
The other thing that I did want to do, I just wanted to Obviously, Jerry and Lance aren't here, but congratulate them on their appointment. I also wanted to thank Jenny for her interest and to reassure her and Stephanie Harvey that it was none of the conversation with Stephanie that was responsible for Jenny not being approved last time. I wanted to thank Bob for, working with you on the appointments. And I guess lastly, I just wanted to thank you for taking our advice, some of our advice on these two appointments. I think the Light and Power will be stronger for it, and appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay. Denny?
Yeah, I also want to thank you for putting Jerry back on the committee, on the light plant. He was very instrumental in the process of getting our rates lowered a little bit, 10%. And also, they're going to be lowered again. I don't know if you guys at the press knew that, but they're coming down a little bit more. I was at the last meeting that they had, and they haven't tagged a figure on it yet, but maybe they have. They haven't told me. But as of the meeting, they had not put a figure on it. So I think it's a step in the right direction to put Jerry back on there. I just try to figure out how we can get all them people out of that room and put them up here, and maybe our taxes will go down a little bit. I don't know. That's about all I've got.
Okay. Bob?
I think we've had a lot said. I have nothing more to say.
Thank you. Gina? Okay. Do you have anything to add? No?
I do.
Okay.
I'll behave. First of all, the Northeast Iowa Regional League announced their meeting schedule for 2016. The first meeting will be Tuesday, March 29th at Elkader, and the topic is franchise fees. So if anybody has an interest, let me know. Dinner's at 6:30, the program is at 7, but their next meeting will be March 29th.
Will Gina send out
We'll send out
Okay.
a reminder as we get closer. There's only 4 meetings this year, March 29th, May 31st, August 30th, and November 29th. So it's the 5th Tuesday of each month for those months that have 5 Tuesdays that they're meeting on. And on a brighter note, I did receive a notice from ICAP. This is the 24th consecutive year that ICAP has approved a property and casualty credit for members. We will be receiving a $1,736 credit for our property and casualty insurance. So it's not all of our costs, but it is better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah.
It's better than going up 1,700.
Yeah.
Well, that's right.
At least they're going the right direction. Okay.
That's all I have.
Okay, my thing that I have on the agenda is, since we call snow emergencies, I don't know if Randy wants to come up, or I wanted to read what the ordinance is, since I don't get any phone calls. I don't know if people are afraid of me. I do have a phone that works. I checked it out myself because I was beginning to think it didn't. But we had several people that were cited the last time we had a snow emergency that did not take and get their cars off the street, and the street department had to go around them. So I wanted to read into the minutes the number 69.20 snow emergency policy, or it says, no person shall park, abandon, or leave unattended any vehicle on any public street, alley, or city-owned or leased off-street parking area during any snow emergency proclaimed by the mayor, unless the snow has been removed or plowed from said street, alley, or parking area, and the snow has ceased to fall. A snow emergency parking ban shall continue from its proclamation throughout the duration of the snow or ice storm and the 48-hour period after cessation of such storm, except as above provided upon streets which have been fully opened. Such as a ban shall be of uniform application, and the police chief is directed to publicize the requirements widely using all available news media in early November each year. Where predictions or occupancies indicate the need, the mayor or city manager shall proclaim a snow emergency, and the police chief shall inform the news media to publicize the proclamation and the parking rules thereunder. Such emergency may be extended or shortened when conditions warrant. When we had the last storm that was coming through, I had received a phone call from Randy in regards to whether we wanted to do a snow emergency, which we did. And can you tell the public where all you put this out so that they can find out about it, or?
Well, we did receive a lot of complaints well, from the public per se of the individuals that were, some of the individuals that were cited, saying I didn't see it, I didn't hear about it, whatever. All I know is that we did put it out. The one thing we cannot do, we cannot have the media put it on, and that is up to them to put it on. In other words, if they have enough room on their within their media, they'll put it on. I trust that they're putting it on. I checked with our secretary today. Was that put out? And she said, absolutely.
So you put it on all the television stations,
Yes,
the local
KCRG,
CBS?
the local television
Okay.
stations, et cetera. We also put it on our website, the city's website, as well as the police department Facebook page.
Right.
I did discuss with Rick Wolfkill upon a suggestion by an individual who was cited, who said, well, could you do something? Could you put it on Code Red or I have Code Red or the new Alert Iowa? I said, I don't have the authority to authorize that. And that is typically an emergency. That is for emergency situations, and I don't want to get into a cry wolf situation where every time something comes up that is not what I would term a major emergency coming up is put on there. However, in talking with Rick Wolfkill late this afternoon about it, and Rick says, I can do that. As a matter of fact, I can restrict it. I said, well, would that go out to the entire county? He says, no. I can do a paradigm, and I can restrict it to just for the citizens of Independence. We have that ability. We can do that. So I have requested of Rick that I will inform him of a future snow emergency. If he's willing to put it on Alert Iowa for the residents of City of Independence, it will come across on their cell phones as well. So
Okay.
he is willing to do that, and I said we will be doing that in the future.
Okay.
So he, like I said, I guess they did it for, he says, well, we did it for a boil alert here, a few weeks ago or whatnot. We did it for a boil alert. He says, I think it falls within that, those kind of guidelines. So he says, certainly, I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
He says, we will do that then.
So you've
Okay.
added him to your list of people that you
Yes, so we'll be
notify whenever we do
contacting him
that?
as well, and him or James Quinn, one or the other.
Okay.
And we'll be contacting them. One or the other is usually available for us, so we will contact one or the other. They will put it on Alert Iowa as well for people. But a good rule of thumb for people. Basically, this ordinance has been in effect for 15 or 20 years, and we go through this every winter with people that I don't know about this ordinance. I've never heard of this before, and every year we are out there writing tickets to people and telling them
Which
about it.
ordinance is that?
The one I just read.
As well as we have been putting it in the publications that prior in November. In fact, our municipal code enforcement, Brian Lau, did that this year. He notified the media, let them know about our code, put it in the code. We do everything we can to make sure people are aware of it. Unfortunately, yeah, and I admit, if you're not watching the television at the right time, if you don't go to the city's website, if you don't see our Facebook page or whatever, or you don't hear your cell phone now, with Alert Iowa, if you turn your phone off at night, I guess you can miss it. But the good rule of thumb is, if the snow's out there and the plows are going to be called out,
I didn't
and
hear
the
that.
plows are going to be called
Did you
out,
hear Williams back in custody?
it's probably a good idea to move your car,
Right.
okay?
Okay.
And even if a snow emergency isn't called, even if the plows come through, they're going to be moving that snow, and it makes it real easy for us to determine what cars have been parked on the city street for 72 hours, because you're going to get cited for that as well, because no vehicles are allowed to be on the city street for a period of 72 hours without being moved. Or, what a lot of people don't understand is, a truck is not allowed to be parked on the city street, or an RV camper, or or farm implements on the city street at all. But the truck is not allowed to be parked on the city street for a continuous period of anything 24 hours or more. So
Meaning semis, or what kind of trucks, or any?
trucks,
Not a pickup.
any truck except for pickup
Okay.
trucks are considered
A
under
vehicle,
a
okay.
vehicle or a car.
Okay.
But any truck that's licensed as a truck is not allowed to be.
Aren't pickups licensed as a truck?
They are, but they are still considered a car. They don't take any more room than a car, or extend out in the roadway more than a regular car. So they're considered a car. But like service vehicles, whatnot, campers, et cetera, not allowed to be in the street beyond 24 hours at any given time. It makes it real easy for us to go around and say, yeah, we know they've been there for at least 24 hours. Because the
And they have
snow's
3
still
feet of
there,
snow
there's
around
no
the
tracks
vehicle.
out of the snow. It makes it real easy we don't need a call from a neighbor to determine the vehicle's been there for either 72-hour period or a 24-hour period, okay? But a good rule of thumb, if it snows, it's a real good idea to get the vehicles moved, simply because of the fact, if nothing else, just out of courtesy, so those plows can get those streets and get them cleaned out,
Right,
okay?
right.
All right.
Only comment I
Did you
gotta
know
make
about
is, I know the rules and everything, but people are confused. A lot of people think it's just the snow roads.
No, it is not just the snow routes.
I know, but a lot of, we need to educate the public on that,
Yeah.
because somehow, and I don't know how to get that out, but I agree it's in here, but how can we educate them? Because they're thinking, hey, I don't live on a snow route, no sign, what is that sign, when does that take effect, or what is the reason for that signs?
Well, that's in the ordinance
Confusing
as well.
by being out there.
Snow routes under 69.21.
Yeah.
The
I got
council
it.
designates certain streets in the city as snow routes. When conditions or snow or ice exist on the traffic surface of a designated snow route, it is unlawful for the driver or vehicle to impede or block traffic. And then it gives a list of the following streets, such as 8th Avenue North, 6th Avenue
Yeah, I got it.
Southwest, 8th Avenue Northeast,
Took
et
a
cetera,
copy
et cetera.
of it here.
But that is the purpose of the snow routes, is so that at the very minimum, emergency vehicles, upon a call to an emergency, can get through those areas. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't want any vehicles on those snow routes.
'Cause
as
I think,
well.
I know the public,
But,
what I
but it's
thought,
mainly for emergency vehicle
Yeah.
access.
are confused because they think that is, and I don't know how to educate them, I guess that's my question.
Well,
No,
that's
I'm
part,
totally
that's
logical.
part of why we put it on here to read it tonight, for one
Yeah.
more chance, since it has been something
If we should
for the
print it-
city for 15, 20 years,
Correct.
and
Have it printed in the paper, so I wonder too, that
Have it put in the Independence Light and Power bill.
something, get a little more.
But yeah, but it applies to all
Throw a
streets.
note in there.
because in
People are
November, you
confused
do
with that.
that legally, don't you have to, in November, don't you, before the winter
Yes,
comes? You
correct.
do
And we
put
did-
this
and we
out
did,
in all those medias,
Brian Lau, our municipal
that
code
time,
officer,
yeah.
did that.
yeah.
Yeah.
People are
So-
listening tonight, they'll know that they can't, next
Yes.
time it snows, but part of this, a lot of them didn't know, or, I don't believe knew this, I know from the comments I've heard.
Correct.
Hey, Randy, do other communities, I mean, one of the real problems for people is they don't always have driveways.
I was just going to say that, is one of the other complaints we get from, well, and it's typically from renters within the city, is that I don't have any place else to put my car. I don't have a driveway. Landlord doesn't want my car in their front yard, so I don't have any place else to put my car. Where do you want to put my car?
I had that
Uh,
problem
see-
downtown.
Unfortunately, the ordinance doesn't address that.
Well,
You-
and that was my question. Do communities our size, is there a possibility we could do alternating sides of I know a convenience for the snowplows is easier, but
It's been discussed about whatnot, and one of the problems with the alternating sides is, if they really wanna come out and open up streets, they can pretty much get the streets plowed one day.
Yeah, but
They won't do that
even on
one
a
day.
dry street, even
It's
on a
gonna-
dry day, Randy.
It's gonna take 2 days to get it plowed open with alternating, because you're gonna have cars on one side of the street, they'll plow the one side of the street, and in the deep snow, it's gonna cause furrows right down the middle of the street.
Randy, we're
And you're
talking
gonna
about.
All
have people complain
streets.
about that. I'm getting my car stuck right in the middle of the street because you got this, if there's 10, 12 inches of snow, 14 inches of snow, as we sometimes get, you're gonna have a tall embankment directly down the middle of the street.
okay, thank you.
You're talking about on a bad day. I'm talking about in the middle of summertime. I got one street down there where you can look up for 4 blocks and there's 2 cars right opposed from each other, and you can barely get through there.
Yes?
And this is on a new paved street, but
Sure.
if they'd have just parked one way or the other,
Sure.
a car length, it
Sure.
had been helpful.
I agree.
Now Marshalltown, that's what Bob's talking about. In Marshalltown, they alternated. Mondays on one side of the street, Tuesdays on the other.
As
you know,
far as
and it's-
parking is concerned.
Yeah, and it's every day of the week that way. It's not just the snow,
Sure.
it's every day.
Sure.
And I think, certain streets, not all of them possibly, but
Yeah, I was
certain
gonna say,
streets.
not all, because all those streets will not allow that, because
Yeah.
some streets have a number of driveways in it, and they
Well-
will not be able to park all their cars within that same block, just because of the number of driveways.
Well, yeah, but
Block
I was
driveways
thinking
and
some streets are wider than others,
Mhm.
and and that wouldn't really be required.
Oh, yeah, like you got the street down, 4th Street Northeast, which is extremely narrow, which was originally an alleyway, turned into a street. And that's an extremely narrow street. Yeah, you put 2 cars across one another, it's difficult. You would not get an emergency vehicle through
But
it.
they've
Is
been
it
doing that.
is parking allowed on both sides of the street, in a
Yes.
street like that?
Yes.
See, I know some of the streets that have that problem, we have actually made parking only on one side of the street. The
Correct.
council has
Correct.
done that in order to try to eliminate that problem.
Correct.
And usually it's on the side, because of the driveways, that makes the most sense
Well,
to have it on.
And
but-
I'll give the public for some, on most occasions, the public uses good common sense. I mean, they see a car parked directly across from theirs, and it's an error. Typically speaking, they'll try and alternate their vehicle parking and whatnot, for the most part. Not all the time, but for the most part.
It doesn't help the fire truck to zip in and out of a
Yes.
snake line,
Blake can
but,
tell you.
yeah,
Yeah.
so, it's not foolproof by any
So,
means,
But there's not, but some of the complaints we have from the people saying, I don't have any place else to put my car. I'm sorry, the code does not address that. And that is something that, if the council wishes to address it, you certainly may. But the current code does not address that. So I said, you know what? I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. My only suggestions to them, I've been telling them is, if you can contact a neighbor, will they let you use the driveway until your street's plowed off? Is there a city public lot nearby you, anywhere nearby you whatsoever? Have you got a relative or a friend that will allow you to move their car at least there temporarily until it gets plowed off? Those kind of suggestions. But other than that, it's not addressed in the code. It does not address that.
And again, this code is not just something we did in the last couple of years. This has been on the books for a long time.
This has been the same code for 15 or 20 years.
Right,
Yeah.
and we survived. Okay, thank you,
Alley in
thank
here
you.
too, though.
Pardon?
It does mention an alley in here too, that you're not to be parking.
That
in
is
alley.
correct.
Right.
Alleyways as well. That's correct. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Did you have something, Carter, you was gonna say, or no?
I was just gonna say that when they get those notices on your phone, it'll be the first time in city history that people under 30 will be more informed than the rest of us.
Thank you.
They won't have cars.
Well, if there is nothing else, I ran out of agenda. Could I ask for a motion to adjourn? Motion by Denny, seconded by, usually it comes over here.
That's
Grover,
something better.
Denny
We're not gonna
already?
stay here all night.
Okay.
I thought about it and then I decided.
Because he doesn't want to have to go back. Seconded by Hill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Aye.
Motion is carried.